Okay, it's the end of the school day and I'm going to try to do this, I hope. The question today for the discussion board was provide specific examples of how CSCL instructional approaches might be implemented in K-12 higher ed and corporate environments. So I took the textbook and I started looking at what it said. And for me to start with something, I usually start with getting a general idea of what it is that I'm talking about. So this one says CSCL refers to situations in which computer technology plays a significant role in shaping collaboration. It involves learners who are working at a distance from each other, and the computer technology is their primary means of interacting, providing valuable flexibility in the use of time and space, but it also is with situations where learners are co-present, as long as the technology plays a significant role in shaping the nature of their interactions with each other and supporting their collaborative activities. And that's from our textbook. It involves students working together, maximizing their own and each other's learning. So examples. Well, examples in higher education, I started doing research, lots of research. I have all of these, then I'm just going to basically touch on some of them as I'm sorting through them. K-12 wasn't too hard for me because basically I use it also in the classroom. I did it today. I teach an astronomy class. My students cannot get out of our little school and go to a planetarium, so we use an interactive version of a planetarium. And the students are sitting together in their groups and we are answering the questions, working together as we go through the steps on this. So it becomes a collaborative implementation of the technology in order to support the learning of what they need to know about astronomy. It is a specific program for them. It's called Starry Night, and we do it as a group instead of individually. I have done similar things. Let me close this door. It's after school, can you tell? I have done similar things with virtual tours of tour activities where students have, as groups, gone and interacted using the computer to gain knowledge of volcanoes or of cells, things that it's hard for me to teach in the class. In fact, it's impossible for me to really teach them well in the classroom without implementing the technology. And for them, it works better if it's done collaboratively, because you do have some students who don't quite get it, but they'll feed off of each other and will get a greater understanding, or the ones who do understand it will get a deeper knowledge also. At least that's the way I'm seeing CBLC as. Other areas I checked on, higher education. I found examples of it used for students where English is not their first language. There was a second language. Specific cases where, like Chinese language learners, there was a case where Chinese language learners found it very helpful because the interaction with the content on display, it states, decrease the burden on L2 learners working memory by reducing the demand of searching for words to transfer their thoughts into speech. It was just basically, it was supportive of their learning. It means that they didn't have to, and we have foreign exchange students here, they didn't have to stretch to figure what the words meant. They had helps. They had things that would help them, and that carried it further for them. Higher education also for video conferencing, web conferencing, virtual worlds. Let's face it, the kids are into virtual worlds. And all of that becomes something that can be adapted to learning. In those cases, this particular case study looked at it and said that you have to max the technology to the lesson requirements. Make sure you test it in advance. Make sure that it's going to work for what you want it to, because otherwise you can have a big problem. Make sure that your technology is actually adequate. We've had trouble sometimes here with the fact that we're in a very rural area, and sometimes it doesn't, it slows down, it stops, it becomes more annoying than anything else. So what we've ended up having to do in some cases is download some things or have the ability to run it with or without it being web-based. Make sure that it's appropriately utilized, advise students on how to use it. To be honest, most of the kids know more about it than I do. Make sure that they have the correct permissions. As for teachers, you make sure that you're going around making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And this day and age, they can use anything. They can use their phone, tablets, whatever. So you can bring it into a K-12 classroom or into a higher education or basically anywhere else on pretty much any device we have these days, whether it's a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer, and use it. In the case of this particular case, it was looking at it just overall in the area of education, and pretty much any general class. The idea was to make sure that everything was organized, that it was prepared well, that the lessons were set up well, and that you had ways for the students to request any assistance either during, before, or after. I found a case where engineering students in another country, and I'm certain in this country also it has been used, engineering, archaeology, mathematics. I saw cases regarding it with mathematics, with English, where you have someone communicating the information to the class, whether it is in that time frame and they're back and forth, or whether it is something that, you know, that is staggered. It still works. And this one states that it's a coordinated, synchronous activity that is a result of continued attempt to construct and maintain a shared conception of a problem. That was the one with engineering. So they were working together as students of engineering and basically supporting one another. Some of these talked about Google Docs as a way of getting information and sharing it. I have done that with other teachers as a collaborative effort. We have worked together that way. I found a more recent article that again supported the K-12 doing what we do here. In this case, it was an activity in science where they were working with a specific program online, and the kids would go and test out their materials based on that. For where it talked about in this, the corporate environment, or I basically looked at other environments, period. I found some interesting idea using it in the area of evidence-based treatments. For like trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy was one that was listed. And the idea was that the professional could discuss things with those, especially in this case it was with children within a community, and discuss their needs, and basically it could be lifetime, it could be something that they could do a larger group, it could be a discussion, and it could work well for them. I also have found one that was rural IT workers. In this case, they were in a rural area, but they needed information, they needed support, and because of the idea of collaborative learning, at work, they were able to work between, in this case, 3 offices, and were able to use a wiki and the task manager, and though they were isolated, they were able to work well together. One that I found particularly interesting, also when the other gets back to medical, was a way of implementing it as a treat to target, is what they call in rheumatoid arthritis, through a learning collaborative. And in that case, they had the medical professionals discussing what, with those who in this case had rheumatoid arthritis, what the problems were. It basically ended some of the wait list for them. They didn't have this heavy, long time wait to see face to face. They could see through technology, and it resulted in substantial improvements in adherence to this treat to target for the management of rheumatoid arthritis. And that brought to mind the fact that some hospitals are using those robot doctors, where a doctor is in one location and is able to go and discuss with other doctors or with patients or patients' families things that are going on. It again becomes computer-supported collaborative, and in a way it's a learning. I've done it with NASA. We have done a summer program where teachers are in assorted locations around the country, and we meet one Saturday and basically learn the latest things about space. But we have speakers from each of the different locations, and at our location we are doing activities that are supportive to our teaching. We are learning activities and working with one another to improve these activities, to work with one another and to take back to our classrooms. Hopefully that gave a bunch of specific examples of how computer, what is it? the computer collaborative learning, gosh, now I have to turn back. Computer supported collaborative learning in instructional purposes works and can be implemented very well. Personally, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's very helpful, especially for those of us who teach I'm in a Christian-based school that doesn't have a lot of money, and because of this, my kids can go and see scientists from all over the world. They can travel virtually. They can go and do activities that we don't have to spend a lot of money on. And I just find it amazingly supportive. So I thank you and have a very blessed day.